Hey, what's up everyone? It's Tim back with another Jetta maintenance video. Today it's time to do a tire rotation. As you can see behind me, we got it all set up, and this is a pretty basic procedure to, I guess, for people that work on their cars already. So this video is going to be geared more towards people that are a little less confident on taking the wheels off their car and putting them back on, and it's still able to drive down the road. So hopefully after this little walkthrough tutorial for you, you'll have the confidence to do it and you won't have to go to the dealer anymore. So first things first, I'll show you what tools you're going to need and how to do the job. And the cool thing is that most of the tools for this job are in the trunk. Let me show you. So if you go underneath your car liner, little flap, here's all your tools. This is emergency roadside tire change kit. But as you can see, it has the wrench and it has the little cap pullers along with your jack. For this video, I'm going to be using a floor jack just because it's a lot easier. And in my opinion, it's a little bit safer than the scissor jack that comes with the car. But the procedure is going to be practically the same. And when I get to it, I'll show you how to use it. So here are the two tools. This is for removing the little plastic caps on top of the lug nut, which your vehicle may or may not have. If you have a Volkswagen, Audi, typically you're going to have those plastic caps on the lug nuts. Also, we're going to be using just the manufacturer supplied lug nut wrench just because it's a good fit, has a lot of leverage. It's a decent tool. Another two optional tools you can use if you have them is an impact driver or even a cordless drill with just a correct size socket to fit whatever lug nuts you have. And then I guess a torque wrench is optional, but I highly recommend a torque wrench. And as far as the rest of the setup goes, here's our jack stand, which you could also use the scissor jack that comes with your car. The jack stand's a lot more sturdy, a lot more safer in my opinion, but definitely you can use the scissor jack. Also, we got two jack stands, which are going to be supporting 100% of the weight of the car after we get it up in the air. And that just gives a little bit more safety when we get the wheels off. Our first step is going to be removing these 5 plastic caps, and you're going to use this little puller right here to get the caps off. So now that we have all of the caps off, we're going to go ahead and use the manufacturer's supplied wrench to go ahead and break free all the lug nuts. When you're loosening or tightening lug nuts, you always want to work in a star pattern, especially when you have 5. It's really easy. So what I do is start at the top, and then I work just in a star pattern. This makes sure that you either loosen it evenly, or or tighten it back on the hub evenly. So we're gonna go ahead and break these free. And what I pretty much do is once it breaks, I just do one more turnaround, and that ensures that the lug nut actually is loose to where I can pretty much twist it off by hand at that point. And then we'll move to the next wheel. So now all of our lug nuts are loosened, not taken off, just maybe about 3/4 of a turn off. We're gonna go ahead and jack up the car, get it on the jack stands, and start taking the wheels off. So there's a couple different ways when you're jacking up your car. If you're using the scissor one, you're gonna want to do one side at a time, or one end of the car at a time, and then put the jack stand under, move to the next one, raise that up, put the jack stand under. Since I have a floor jack and it's a 3-ton jack, I'm gonna go ahead and lift up the whole side of the car at once. And kind of use your own discretion if this is something you wanna do or not. But what I do is lift it up right on the edge here on the pinch weld, which is this right here. And once that basically just contacts that, and it'll lift up the whole side of the car. So as you can see, now the front's off the ground and the rear's off the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide these jack stands under. And once I have both of the jack stands set, I'm gonna go ahead and lower it onto the jack stands gently. And now all the weight is supported on the jack stands. and not on the jack. All right, so now that we have the lug nuts already loosened, the wheels are off the ground, it's time to go ahead and take the lug nuts off. So in this case, I'm gonna be using the impact driver, which you could use a cordless drill, or even at this point, you could just use a ratchet with the correct socket size on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these 5 lug nuts off the rear, and I'll just do one wheel because at this point, it's pretty much the same process on both wheels. So now that I've gotten 4 of them out, I'm gonna leave one in because when I take this out, by design, the Volkswagen wheels, they're held on by lug studs. So the studs are actually part of the lug nut. And if you take this last one out, the whole wheel is just gonna fall off. So I'm gonna hold the wheel, and what I usually do is put my foot on the bottom, my hand on the top, and then take out that last lug stud. And then from that point, the whole wheel comes right off. So as you can see, the wheel is just sitting on that little hub centering ring right there. And the whole thing can just come right off. So now we move to the front and do the exact same thing. So now that we got both wheels off, now is a great time to check your tire tread. And basically, there's a ton of videos out there and guides where you can see what irregular tire tread looks like. But these are fairly new tires. And as you can see, the tread looks even across. There's no cupping, or there's no high spot where this tread is higher than this tread. Like I said, there's plenty of guides out there that'll tell you and show you pictures and diagrams of what bad tire tread looks like. But if you're doing this rotate, now's the perfect time to inspect it for tire tread wear and also anything that has punctured your tire. Oh, and I did forget to mention one thing during this video is to check your tire pressure when you're doing your rotate. It's a great time to do that. Most people don't check it on the regular. So if you look in your driver's side door, there is a sticker which shows your tire pressure. So for me, it is 36 PSI on the front and 36 PSI on the rear. So now the next step is basically putting the wheels back on, which is pretty much opposite of what we just did with a few exceptions. So I'll show you here. So since the Volkswagen wheels do require lug studs, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get these back in, just because you have to get it lined up perfectly. So the goal is to line up the lug hole with the hole on the hub there. And once you get it lined up just right, go ahead and stick a stud in there, and you're gonna want to finger tighten it down and pretty much repeat that the rest of the 4 times for each of the studs. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So I had a small issue come up, and I'm glad it did because now I get to explain to you. So if you look at my hub right here, and I even said it and I wasn't paying attention, but you can see this piece right here. This is called a centering ring. Since I have aftermarket wheels, which you can see here, this wheel has a centering ring on it. Basically just resizes the wheel down to the size that matches your vehicle. So this ring actually belongs to that wheel that we just took off. And I was trying to put this wheel on and realized that this ring was correctly on the hub of this wheel. So I need to take this one off and move it up to the front because it belongs with that wheel. All right, so we're back. Got the centering ring off this hub. It's back on the front wheel. Now we're gonna go ahead and, like I said earlier, just line up the holes between your wheel and your hub and have a stud ready to go, because once you get it lined up, you're gonna wanna slide one in pretty quick. And what I do is use the socket to help just get some, get the lug stud in there tight, finger tight at least. And just like before when we were taking the studs out, you're gonna do a star pattern, putting the studs back in. And it's important that you're doing this finger tight first, because you want to make sure that you're not cross-threading anything and that there's no burrs or anything on the threads. And when you go ahead and put the tool on it, your impact driver, or if you're just using the wrench that comes with the vehicle, that you're not using the mechanical advantage to strip the stud out or mess up your hub. So I go ahead and hit it with the impact driver because I know this impact driver is below the torque specs, and I know that just from experience. So even after I get the tires back on the ground, I'll need to go ahead and hit it with the torque wrench, and it's still gonna have to get tighter. If you're using a really powerful impact driver, I don't recommend actually using that to get to tighten the lug nuts down, because you'll go way over the torque spec. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the front and do the same exact thing. Okay, so as you saw, I got the front wheel back on. I went ahead and raised the car a little to just free up the jack stands. And now I have gone ahead and lowered some just to where the wheels are touching. But as you can see by the big gap, there's still not very much weight on the ground. The tires are just barely touching to where they can't really roll. And I'm gonna go ahead and torque down the wheels to about 90 foot-pound. You're gonna go ahead and have to look up your specs for your own vehicle. Yeah, so that's pretty much how you torque it, and I go through and double check each lug nut just for safety. Why not? It only takes like 5 seconds more just to double check your work. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and lower the jack the rest of the way. Go ahead and pull it out. And we're pretty much done at this point. All right, well, I know I said we're done, but I forgot the plastic caps. So we need to put these guys back on each of the lug studs, which is pretty easy. You just put it in there and just pushed in. You can use like your socket or a screwdriver handle just to make sure that it's actually seated back in there and it's not gonna fall off once you start to drive. But at this point, pretty much just go ahead and give it a test drive around your neighborhood a couple times, come back. It's a good idea to check the torque one last time just to make sure everything was tightened down, you didn't miss a lug nut or anything like that. So hopefully this video helped you out. If you got any questions, go ahead and leave a comment. If you just want to give me some feedback, this video helped you, leave a thumbs up. I always like to see that because I know it helps somebody out. So till next video, I think next time we might be doing a cabin air filter, and then eventually we'll be lowering the Jetta and we'll putting on some lowering springs. So that video won't come for a while, but just something to look forward to. Talk to you later.